The American people know fundamentally that Joe Biden is a good and decent man who's dedicated his life to public service and will continue to serve the people honorably and admirably.
Good luck with that one, Hakeem. No one is going to buy that one again. You pulled the fast one on the public before. Now we know Joe Biden was not honorable as a public servant. I think he had very little interest in public service. No honorable person uses an alias at work in a federal job. Is it Robert L. Peters, Robin Ware, JRB Ware? It's crazy. 5,400 emails sent or received, we believe, with Joe Biden under fake names, and a lot of them CCing Hunter Biden for no other reason other than, well, corrupt activities? I mean, how do you explain that? No, this was not a good public servant. As I'll show you in a moment, public service was his last priority. In fact, this, I think, was his priority. He said it, even as a kid. What was on his mind? Even as a kid in high school, I've been seduced by real estate. Seduced, his own autobiography. That's quite a word, seduced. Maybe he should have gone into real estate like Donald Trump and made no bones about it. No, instead he went into public service and always complained about how little money he had, but we could all see how much he actually had, how much stuff he had. Maya Angelou, a poet that the Democrats love, she said this once: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Well, when Joe Biden first showed up on the national scene as a newly elected United States Senator, I think he told us what he was.
The fortunate thing is I didn't have many larger contributors, and the only reason, see, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it.
A prostitute will do anything for money. That about fits, especially after I read this book that the liberals love. It's called What It Takes, The Fake News for Them by Richard Ben Cramer. This thing is their Bible. It's about the 1988 campaign. And Joe Biden was running in 1988, and he's a big star in this book. But believe me, they think this book is the Bible.
If you go back to 1988, there was a great classic portrait written of him by Richard Ben Cramer in the book What It Takes.
The late Richard Ben Cramer, in his book What It Takes. It's a book that led me to tears so many times.
The best book ever written about modern politics was What It Takes by Richard Ben Cramer.
Today we're remembering Richard Ben Cramer. He wrote what's hailed as one of the greatest political books ever, What It Takes, The Way to the White House.
All right, they're all kind of a little bit overrated, okay? I've actually read the book myself. It's 1,000 pages. You might say it's overwritten. I think that's safe to say. But yeah, the praise for this book, and no one has pointed out any factual errors that I know of. They call it the ultimate insider's book on presidential politics, an unparalleled source book on the 1988 candidates. And who was running in 1988? Yes, Joe Biden. And there is a lot in here about Joe. Now, when the fake news looks at this book and they report on Joe, yes, oh, Richard Ben Cramer wrote about Joe's determination and his sense of destiny, they never get to this part, which I think shows Joe's, I think the word is venality, right? His susceptibility to bribery. I mean, let's go through it, shall we? Joe, you may know by now, bought an incredibly big mansion in the mid-1970s. And it's in the book, chapter 17. The first thing you've got to know about Joe is the house. Probably the first thing he'd show you anyway. You talk with Biden about anything, somehow it gets back to home. And the house is gorgeous. An old DuPont mansion in the DuPont neighborhood called Greenville, outside of Wilmington. It's the kind of place 1,000 Italian guys died building. Hand-carved doorways, a curving hand-carved grand staircase that Clark Gable could have carried a girl down, a library fit for a Carnegie or Bernard Baruch, someone like that, and a ballroom, can't forget the ballroom, and a living room about half an acre and a bathroom upstairs the size of a gym, and rows outside with beautiful brickwork over the windows, black shutters, white porches, a fountain, a pool. The place is drop dead stately. Wow. This is where I think the venal nature, venal, are you familiar with the word venal? You don't hear it every day, But if you look it up, it actually says that, yeah, somebody who is susceptible to a bribe, showing or motivated by susceptibility to bribery. And Joe, of course, always bragged about being the poor guy, remember?
I had the dubious distinction of being listed as the poorest man in Congress for 36 years.
That's quite a thing to shout about. For 36 years, he was saying it. It's kind of like an advertisement. I need money. Is he open to taking money? Well, he needed the money. Back to the book. That house we were just talking about, a $200,000 deal for the house. That was more than he had, of course, but Biden never let money stand in the way of a deal. He got in the developer's face and started talking fast. Joe can literally talk fast. He goes at a gallop. The beautiful thing is the way he talks deal. By the time Joe's finished talking, it wouldn't matter if he didn't have $1,000 cash. In fact, no one would see any cash for years. When Joe Biden gets going on a deal, he'll talk that deal into it shimmering before your eyes in God's holy light, like the Taj Mahal. Where do I sign? Now, I just wonder if Joe's deal-making had a little bit to do that he was a sitting United States senator. Was it that Joe was so good? No, it was the power of his office that got him all these opportunities, all this money, perhaps. Have you ever noticed that Joe Biden doesn't fit in Iowa? They don't like him much there. I think he came in third place. Pete Buttigieg beat him in Iowa because he doesn't understand anything about grass and hay and even mowing a lawn. Back to the book. He killed one riding mower a year. He'd let the grass get 3 feet high until he was going to have someone over or a function at the house or something. Then he'd attack with his riding mower, which had been out in the rain for 6 months. These damn things aren't built right, he'd complain. I got to find one that works. No, you got to take care of the stuff that you have, okay? Anyway, Joe starts running for president in 1988. He's like 44 years old, and why shouldn't he? Well, lots of reasons, and actually his financial entanglements. His advisors were saying, Joe, you're kind of crazy right now. Back to the book. As his older son, Beau, was getting ready for college, and Hunter, the second son, was just a year behind. And of course, Joe hasn't got cash. Whatever he gets, the house eats for breakfast. That house loves cash. So that's why Joe decided he had to have another house. This time it was 17 acres, a $1.1 million estate, an enormous main house with a sauna in the master bath, a swell apartment over the 4-car garage, and the outdoor pool had a separate cabana that was itself like a nice suburban home. And then there was the tennis house with the other sauna and the indoor pool, and of course, the indoor tennis court. It was a compound. It was Hyannisport, like the Kennedys, the Kennedy compound. He could see the damn thing in Life magazine. He could just about lay out the photos right now, touch football on the grass, the house fuzzy in the background, him and his brothers, the boys, all wearing white, no, not white, blue jeans, and Beau running out for a pass, the Bidens' first family. Thing is, the Kennedys could afford all that stuff. The Bidens, not so much, but somehow they got it anyway. So Joe is serious about running for president in 1988. His advisors are really worried. They go up there in the first week of 1987 to tell him, Joe, if you want to run for president, you can't buy this new house. And also, what's up with you taking 2 weeks on vacation in Hawaii with some pollster? And what the hell are you trying to pull with this $1.1 million house? Look, Senator, Ridley said earnestly, in the mind of a voter, there's no way you get from a senator's $75,000 a year salary to $1.5 million estate. Joe responds, 1.1 million. I said I could sell it for $1.5 million. The advisor says, 1.1, 1.5, whatever you say, it doesn't matter. You can't run as a Democrat, a guy who's in touch with middle-class values, when you're on TV in your indoor tennis court. How the hell do we explain it? You can't. You don't know what this is like. You can't explain to everybody. Things just come out. Everything comes out. And they sure have, haven't they? Right? I think they are continuing to come out. Let's see. They'd say, Joe, these real estate deals, these borrowed condos, the BS has to stop. If you're going to run for president, you have to stop. You have to give up everything, give up your life. And it doesn't look like he's about to do that. However, through all these crazy real estate transactions, Joe insists that the one thing about him that's irrevocable is his character, his basic honesty, his fabric as a man. These career politicians can tell themselves just about anything. And he is a career politician. Never forget. I mean, it's hard to forget, right? 1972, he becomes a U.S. Senator. Who was around in 1972? J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the FBI. You know how flimsy the ethics situations was back then? LBJ was still alive. Career politician, he became a gazillionaire by holding public office. Watergate, the reforms post-Watergate hadn't happened yet. I still believe that Joe is trapped in a 1972 mindset. And it shows this kind of scrutiny didn't happen before Watergate, and it's happening now, and it's making Joe and a lot of Democrats very, very uncomfortable. We'll be right back.